Verse 24, then came the Jews round about him and said unto him, how long dost thou make us to doubt? If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly. So how long are you going to keep us to doubt? How long are you going to keep us in suspense? Are you the Christ, meaning the Messiah, the Most High's anointed one, or not? Are you the Savior and deliverer of Israel? Because when they're asking him if he's the Christ, tell us plainly, meaning the Redeemer of Israel. The word Christ means the Most High's anointed one, or Messiah, deliverer of Israel, Savior of Israel. Verse 25, Jesus answered them, I told you, and you believe not. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me. See? So he told them, look, I've told you before, and you believe not. The works that I do in my Father's name, meaning I do them by the power and authority of the Most High. They bear witness of me, meaning the works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me, meaning they bear witness of me whether I'm the Christ or not. So then he says, but you believe not, because you are not of my sheep. See? So the Lord knew that, a lot of Israel that was asking him whether he was the Christ or not, him telling them or not, they're not going to believe. They don't even believe in the works, because the works testify. So they want to hear it out of his mouth. Why do we have to hear it out of his mouth? The works that he does in the name and power and authority of the Father, they bear witness whether he's the Christ or not, to answer their question. They're asking him, Lord, tell us plainly if you're the Christ or not. Lord's like, the works that I do by the power and authority of my Father, those works bear witness of me, whether I'm the Christ or not. The Lord's telling them, look, my sheep hear my voice, meaning my sheep, the ones whom the Father has given unto me, they hear my voice, meaning because remember when the Lord asked the disciples, he asked them, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? And, the apostles were saying, disciples were saying, some say thou art John the Baptist, some say thou art, John the Baptist risen from the dead. Some say that you're Jeremiah or one of the prophets of old risen from the dead. Some say you're Elijah. Christ said, whom do you say that I am? And Peter said, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. See, because Peter was the Lord's sheep, and he heard the Lord's voice and saw him as the Messiah. Where these people that's asking these questions, they saw the same works and they heard the same words that Peter and the disciples saw and heard. So how can, amongst a whole nation of people, how can some discern that he's the Christ, the Son of the living God? And how come some can't discern that? How come some, even though the works, he don't have to say he's the Christ. His works show it. How come they can't discern that he's the Christ or the Son of the living God? Well, why is that? Because they're not the Lord's sheep. That's why. They don't have eyes to see and ears to hear. The Lord said, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. Just like a shepherd over a sheep. When the shepherd called the sheep, them sheep can be 100 yards away. Once that shepherd's voice rings aloud, all them sheep could be 100 yards away, eating grass, whatever they're doing, and one by one, they all lift up their heads and they hear the shepherd's voice, and they all gather together and they all come together to the shepherd. That's what the Lord is saying about the sheep of Israel. He said, my sheep hear my voice. I know them and they follow me. And a shepherd over a sheep, he could have 100 sheep. He knows each and every individual sheep. The Lord knows each and every individual amongst his sheep, amongst the believers. The Lord knows us all by name. He knows us all. He knows us in this room. He knows all the sheep in all the churches scattered throughout this country and throughout the world. Christ said, my sheep hear my voice. I know them, they follow me. The Most High sheep in the church in Boston, Jacksonville, Cali, Texas, Virginia, Georgia, what other places? I said Texas, and I hope I didn't forget. Then we got brothers and sisters scattered in the Caribbean, England, different parts of the world, South Africa. What did the Lord say? My sheep hear my voice. When the scriptures go out, that's Christ. That's Christ. And I know them. And the Lord knows all of us because he's like a shepherd that calls the sheep. He knows each and every individual sheep. And they follow me. They all come together to follow him. They're not the sheep, the ones that doubt. The ones that's coming tempting Christ. Show us plainly whether thou be the Christ or not. So they're talking about, tell us plainly. How the question go? Verse, how long does thou make us to doubt? If thou be the Christ, tell us plainly. The Lord could say, I am the Christ. He could say it over and over. They're still not going to believe. They don't even believe in the works that he does in his Father's name. They testify that he's the Christ. They just want to hear him say it out of his mouth so that they can try to, attack him. But the works bear witness. And the Lord knows that not all Israel is the sheep of the Most High.